Hi there and welcome to it. It's the KYP022 podcast from Business Blenders and Brilliance, brought to you by me, your host Archie Moyo, back at it again. And today we've got a birthday edition episode. I turned 31 yesterday, as of the day I'm recording this podcast, and it's been a very good time for me to actually evaluate my past goals, some of the goals that I set as I went into my 20s. Also, I decided, I'll make this a podcast that speaks to the things I wish I had learned in my 20s. And before I go into it, I'll just give you a bit of background. Part of my past goals were I wanted to be consulting by the age of 35, management or business consulting. And I wanted to retire around that age where consulting is something I do because I want to and I want to keep my mind fresh, but not necessarily because I have to work. So 4 years to go. And so far, I recently did get married this year. I own a couple of vehicles. I do not own a house or a stand, and most of my consulting has been for social media management, with very few opportunities in the actual business management or strategic management space. And that's what I really wanted to do. So the reason why I'm giving you this background is because I want you to understand my decision making as we go into this series, not just this episode, but generally the series if you're a person who follows the podcast. So with that, let's get into it. Continuously improve yourself. Welcome to it. It's the Business Blenders and Brilliance podcast. Before we start, it's very important for me to just make this public service announcement that we have 2 new channels that we'll be trying out to converse outside of the actual podcast. And of these 2 channels, we're going to have a Telegram channel where we are talking about investing as beginners. I won't say investing for beginners because I am a beginner as well. So we are learning together. Investing as beginners. We'll also have a WhatsApp channel for the same. So now that we've got that out of the way, number 1. So this lesson that I learned in my 20s is something that I want you to learn. If you go the college route, don't wait for your attachment opportunity to start working. So in Zimbabwe, most of the colleges do 4-year degrees with 1 year being spent out on an internship with an organization. Do not wait for that year to start working. Look for work opportunities even as you are a student. So on campus or off campus, anything that you can do, even if it's just weekends only, because you may have a full day on campus. Weekends only, just find something to work. Start acclimatizing to the work environment, because it's something that shocks a lot of us. We still want to work, but we don't know how difficult it is to actually start working. So it's very good to learn this pretty early on. Number 2 is start a project or a company, anything that can make you money while you are still in college. What I know is from my time when we were in college, most of us spent those 5, 6, 7 years as students, as children. We'd ask our mothers, our fathers, our parents for even the smallest of money. Is, hi, can I have $1 to do my photocopying? Those are all opportunities. I think this is the time you need to start carving your brain, start working towards looking for solutions. When I look back at my college years, there are a few things that I know we could have started. I know I could have started a printing and photocopy business because we had only one place that printed on the whole campus. It was a bit of a walk for a lot of people, but if I had one of those inkjet printers, I could have walked around the different faculties at different times when I'm off lectures and actually done the printing for people at a price. Some people would actually wait until the end of day, go into town, print in town because it was cheaper, less traffic as well, only to then bring the assignments the next day. But I could have actually had that market, especially because we had a lot of students who lived in the neighborhood close to school and were not necessarily able to go into town to actually print their assignments and everything else. So that was an opportunity, something that you probably can still start now. A printer photocopier, very easy to do. Most people have got laptops now. You print their assignments, you charge them for it. You could make some money off that. Another thing was snacks. You could sell snacks because while we're on campus, we're all very snacky, but we all want to eat something maybe during lectures. And one thing I remember about us when we were in college, we were too broke to be able to afford a full meal at the cafeteria every other day. So most of the time we're snacking small packs of chips, maputi, and we had a few guys who we knew who actually did that for the entire 4 years that we were on campus together, and they made some reasonable money through that. In my final year, I sold cupcakes, but I didn't do it full time. Why didn't I start earlier? Why didn't I do it full time? I could have made a significant amount of money. Try by doing assignments for people, either actually doing a full assignment or typing the assignments or selling notes if you can find notes for your classmates or for other classes, because a lot of people don't attend lectures and they need notes. And I know that doing assignments one sounds like a bad thing, but let's not lie to each other. There are a lot of people who don't do their own assignments. You could do assignments for these people, charge a small fee, and actually get money from that. What you need to actually try and do is just start something. And now, this year, I've come across two young people who started businesses. I came across two young boys who did photography for a friend's traditional wedding. And these guys are still in college. They started, I think, when they're in second year, and that's what they've been doing. A photography business running on the side, professional photography, and they're very good. What stopped us back in the day? What's stopping you from starting something? And you can start learning. You don't even have to start as the best photographer, but with time, you will get better. And this is the best time. So you need to definitely try and start a business. Number 3 is start saving. Start saving from job number 1. I started working and I thought, you know what? I don't earn enough to start saving. And that was a big mistake. You don't have to be saving for a car or a house in the beginning. You can start by creating your emergency fund to just say, okay, if something happens, I need to make sure that I've got extra money. A lot of the times, because we are students and we've got our parents, we think we don't need this. But you need to start saving now, just putting money aside, learning that culture of saving. It becomes a lot easier for you as you become a working or an older person to know that every month you have to save, because it's very difficult to make that a habit. Once you haven't been doing it all of your life, it will take a lot longer for you to start, for you to be consistent with the saving. So start saving. Number 4, invest and take chances. Look, in your 20s, you are the perfect age to take risks, especially earlier on in your 20s, like you're 20, 21, still in college. You're the perfect age to take risks because you will recover. So Bitcoin started in 2009. I was 19 when it started, and it was worth $0. It only became worth $1 in, I think, 2011. Let's say I didn't have any money to put into something like Bitcoin throughout my college years, because 2009 I was 19 and in first year. So let's say I didn't have money to put into Bitcoin at that point. I started my first job in 2015. At that point, Bitcoin was worth $313 per coin. It was actually down from $770 the previous year. But 2015, when I started work, it was worth $313. If I had put $100 into Bitcoin at that point, it would have been about 30 Bitcoin cents. And that $100 would now be worth $12,000 US. Now, did I not spend at least $100 that year? I definitely wasted more than $100 on alcohol or on different things, but I never spent it on bets that could either be nothing or be something in 10 years time or in 5 years time. I didn't take those chances to just say, look, I've got this $50. If I don't invest it, I will drink it. Can I invest it in something? Whether it works out or it doesn't matter. So that's the sort of attitude I didn't have. I could have started investing when I was in college. Yes, I didn't have a lot of money, but if I had invested $10 a month when I was in college, by the end of my 4 years, I would have had a portfolio worth about $500, or I would have spent about $500 on investing, and I bet you that portfolio would not be worth $500. It would be worth a lot more depending on which counters I would have invested in. But by this point, I would have saved so much money, but I didn't save throughout most of my 20s. And even when I did start saving, I just kept the money and didn't do anything with it. So sometimes when you do start saving, save and have a mission. The best times when I saved was when I saved for a car, and my first car, I crashed it a few weeks after I bought it, and then I saved up for a new one about 2 years later. That's how long it took me to recover from the first purchase, because I bought that car on terms, so I was paying for it for 10 months after I had crashed it. So lessons to learn: don't drink and drive was one of them, and that's good. Lesson number 5 is negotiate prices and contracts. A lot of times we don't negotiate prices because we think when we negotiate, it makes us look like we don't have money. Do you know that if you negotiated for most of the times that you went to try and buy something, you wouldn't get a discount 90% of the time, but there's that 10% where you would actually get a discount, and that would help you. On top of the fact that if you get into that culture of actually asking for these discounts, you get used to rejection because it's something that will happen a lot. And rejection is one of the things that keeps a lot of us from trying and starting things. We are afraid of it, but you would get used to it and be like, you know what, I'll try it. Whether it fails or not, it doesn't matter. Another thing in here, for some reason, a lot of us feel that negotiating a contract when you get it is a sign of ungratefulness. And nothing could be further from the truth. I think you have an opportunity to negotiate just about any contract that you get. When you get it, I know a lot of people say, no, why would you want to negotiate when you get it? Why don't you work like half a year and then let them see your value and then negotiate? If you have been offered a job, there is already some value that they are seeing in you. So you are in a position to negotiate, not crazy negotiate like from $500 to $1,000, but you can actually negotiate a bit more, negotiate some benefits, negotiate when you can have a review of your salary. Those are the things most of us go blindly into jobs. We don't even know if there's a review, when it's done, what conditions are there for the review. But these are the things that you need to start doing. And look, I know you can't negotiate all contracts. My first proper job was in the call center. Homogeneous job. In other words, anyone could be pulled off the streets and replace me on a basic front. Of course, each person comes with some uniqueness, but for the greater part in terms of training, you are replaceable through like a 3 or 4 day training. So jobs like that, maybe you can't negotiate per se, but you need to make sure that whenever you're in a job where you can negotiate, try and get something better from that opportunity that you've already gotten. It'll surprise you. Sometimes you'll actually get something. And then the last lesson that I wish I'd learned, and I'm glad for the greater part I actually did this, is don't forget to live. Even if you decide, okay, so I want to start saving, I want to create a better future, don't forget to live. If there are some things that you like and you want to make what would be like a rash purchase every once in a while, do it. You like watches, you see a watch that you like, buy it. Are you into weird things like anime and you want to get some anime themed t-shirts? Do it. Everyone's got our vices, and sometimes it's good to spoil yourself because we only have one life and we have to live it. So these are the 6 lessons I wish I had learned in my 20s. I learned a lot of it towards the tail end, and I won't lie to you, the greater part in terms of savings, in terms of investing, is something that I've been learning in the past 2 years. So I missed out on all of my 20s when I could have been doing that. Granted, I wasn't making a lot of money, but I could have been doing that. Thank you so much for making it to this part of the episode, for making it to the end. And remember, we do this podcast so that we can all continuously improve. That is hashtag Kaizenyu. That's what it means. And again, I'll repeat, we do have 2 additional channels for us to converse outside of this podcast. If you're a person who's learning how to invest, come through. Let's talk about it. Let's actually have those conversations. I'll put the links in the show notes to our WhatsApp group as well as to our Telegram channel that you can join us on so that we can have these conversations. We'll share some of the insights that we'll be getting as we are researching and going through the market. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. These are just notes that are coming from what I am learning, what I am doing, and it's something that you possibly could use as well. Remember to subscribe from wherever you listen to this podcast. Share with your family and friends. Thank you so much for tuning into the Business Blunders and Brilliance Kaizenyu podcast. We'll meet in the next one.
Continuously improve yourself.